Willkommen zu einer neuen Episode von Meikes Raumzeit. Was bedeutet Service, wenn die Menschen, die eine Frage stellen, gerade auf der Flucht sind, in einem Krisengebiet leben oder dringend verlässliche Informationen brauchen? Bei Signpost, einem Programm des International Rescue Committees, geht es genau darum, Menschen in schwierigen Situationen schnell, verständlich, verlässlich und sicher mit Informationen zu versorgen, die sie brauchen, und ihnen über digitale Kanäle die Möglichkeit zu geben, auch konkrete Fragen zu stellen. Ich spreche heute mit André Heller, Director bei Signpost beim IRC. Wir sprechen darüber, wie digitale Unterstützung in humanitären Kontexten funktioniert, welche Rolle Technologie und Sendex dabei spielen und wie KI helfen kann, ohne Vertrauen, Verantwortung und Menschlichkeit aus dem Blick zu verlieren. Da André Heller englischsprachig ist, werden wir das Interview auf Englisch führen. Before we dive into Signpost and everything, I would ask you kindly to briefly introduce yourself. Who are you? What is your role at IRC or Signpost? And what is it exactly that you do?
My name's André Heller. I'm the director of the Signpost-Projekt at the International Rescue Committee. I've been with the Signpost-Projekt for about 6 years now. We've grown our digital social work from a proof of concept to a project that's served our clients in over 30 countries around the world in 25 languages, registering 20 million users of our information products and conducting about 500,000 digital social work consultations over this time. We have sort of evolved from a scrappy little startup project into a leading force in applied technology in humanitarian crises. And we're one of the early frontrunners of applied AI in the aid sector, all housed within the International Rescue Committee, which itself is an organization that helps communities whose lives have been shattered by armed conflict and disaster in about 40 countries around the world. The IRC is one of the leading innovators in the aid sector, both through the rigorous evidence-based research that we conduct on how best to help meet community needs, as well as through this kind of unrelenting engagement to push the envelope with technology as well in terms of how we can best serve the clients that we endeavor to help.
I did a bit of research and tried to kind of get to know more about Signpost. I didn't know before. And it describes itself as the world's first scalable community-led information program. I was wondering, from your perspective, what does community-led actually really mean? And especially when people in crisis need, for on one hand, fast, reliable, and sometimes on the other hand, very personal support as well.
That's a great question. Essentially, what it means to be community-driven in running a service like our own is that we engage with the communities that we serve who express themselves the needs that they have and the struggles that they're facing and the problems that they encounter in trying to exercise their rights and trying to find a pathway through navigating a crisis in often very chaotic and turbulent times. What it means to be community-driven for us is to always make sure to listen before we think we know what people need, rather let people express that in their own words, on their own terms, digitally through the channels that they're most comfortable in and the ones that they're already using. So we build trust with the communities that we help by listening very carefully and by reflecting back their own self-expressed needs through the information products and the services that we offer digitally.
On one side, you combine the user-friendly information content. You have like facts and figures and information ready. On the other hand, with stuff two-way communication. Why is that combination actually so important? And can you explain how it evolved actually to these?
Yeah, absolutely. The project started in 2015 in Greece, and this was when there was a huge influx of asylum seekers regionally within the Middle East, but as well as those seeking asylum in Europe. At the time, there was a ton of people who were from diverse backgrounds, many fleeing the conflict in Syria, who didn't know what their rights were, who didn't know how to exercise those rights, and who needed to survive along the way while trying to navigate these often highly complex, bureaucratized systems that support those fleeing armed conflict and seeking safety elsewhere. So what we did was create a sort of a digital package where we would engage with people through digital channels, often Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, things like that, and also create these self-help portals where people could access the information that they needed about programs that they were eligible for, to kind of cut through the noise of the chaos of such a situation and dispel a lot of mis and disinformation that was also in circulation. So people needed to both understand what rights they were eligible to exercise in the places that they were, but also how to survive along the way. And in navigating often these highly bureaucratized systems, it takes a lot of time. It's very confusing. People hear mis and disinformation often about what they can and can't do. The right information at the right time is every bit as important as, say, the physical goods that humanitarian agencies would deliver, whether that's shelter or food. The right information in the right moment is the difference between a person falling into the hands of labor exploitation or human trafficking, or making the wrong decision based on the wrong information about something critical to the future of themselves and their family, and knowing what's going on, reclaiming a sense of control over their lives. So that's what it means.
How can I'm just trying to kind of understand or picture it. How do those people actually get in contact or know about Signpost? And then is it just kind of actually a database that you're kind of finding, or can I at the end literally write to a person?
Imagine you are arriving in a foreign place, whether it's within your own country, when you were uprooted and displaced by an armed conflict, or in a country abroad. You would stay in touch with friends and family via social media, most likely. So you'd be on Facebook or Instagram chatting, oh my goodness, like, look at all the things that are happening. We don't know what to do next. You'd reach out to your friends. You'd reach out to other friends and other people that you had heard about, that you could trust. And then on that same social media feed, you would see content promoted by the Signpost-Projekt.
Yeah.
That would say,
Yeah.
arriving in Greece, arriving in Italy,
Yeah.
arriving in whatever the context is. And it would start to orient you already through information products that were there. Those would take you to a website with a whole host of information that speaks directly to the kinds of problems that you're facing while you're trying to sort all of this super complex information out. And then it would also open up pathways to say, hey, do you have a question? Is there a problem?
Yeah.
Is there something that you're looking for that we're not addressing? And people would reach out.
Okay.
Oftentimes they would reach out via social media, of course. Sometimes we do this work face-to-face as well, and staff are kind of equipped with the content on device. But most often it's through social outreach. And people will present 3, 4, 5 different problems or different really complex things that they're facing.
Right.
Not everyone has their papers in order. Some people have family members who live in another country. Some people have children who have diabetes or other medical needs. Oftentimes people are highly traumatized from the violence that they faced along their journeys. And it's our job to help unpack these complex, multifaceted situations and help equip people to navigate some of the most challenging moments in their lives.
Yeah. We hear and talk and relate a lot about AI trust, but I want to take that trust word a bit in this context, a bit in a different way. I guess, or I can imagine that, how do you gain the trust actually of those people? As you said, troubled situations, they went through trauma and they kind of are probably overwhelmed, wherever they are just in what situation. What is trust then? There, you probably don't worry about AI trust. That's your side probably, but trust is an important word probably in that equation.
Well, AI trust is a thing, and we're getting there now with our work, because we're doing an awful lot with AI these days. But you'll crank it back to the sort of original service model and trust there. For starters, let's say we'll just stay with the Greece example, the original project. If you're fleeing persecution in a country and you're a Farsi speaker and you arrive, and there is absolutely no information sources in Farsi. And lo and behold, you see one that's in Farsi and it reaches out to you. It finds you on your social feed.
Yeah.
And the kind of content that is created there, explaining how to unpack and navigate some of the problems that you're facing in your native tongue in terms that actually make sense to you, not bureaucratized language on a government website that you need a legal degree to understand, but rather content that is written from the perspective of an end user, speaking to the lived problems that you actually have in your native tongue, even in your native dialect. That's a gateway to building trust with people because you reflect back the community's needs to them themselves. And when someone sees themselves in the services that you're trying to provide, that's the first step to building trust. And then it's also other things like understanding the limits of your own knowledge, understanding the limits of your own capabilities, being honest with people, being reliable about response time when responding to questions. And then investigating topics that don't already have answers pre-baked. When people start people start expressing needs that haven't yet been addressed or that we don't know how to unpack, we'll investigate those things. And those questions that we don't know the answers to, that's actually what drives our content model.
Okay.
And that's what continues that trust building cycle with communities.
Yeah. Now, as I hear you talking about it giving them information in their language, because if I think about traditional service environment, we always talk about kind of customer experience. Is that one of the things as well that what you would consider in your environment is good service, that you're actually providing them answers in their language and being there for them, and what you said, honest and transparent?
Yeah, absolutely. Language is one topic, but really it's meeting people where they are from a struggles and needs perspective, first and foremost. Language will often be a real blocker in some contexts, but in other contexts it's less so. Like in the Americas where we work. Oftentimes it's really a function of getting the content and having a service model that's just really built for communities. I don't know. I didn't answer that well.
No. It's good. Now here, Zendesk supports Signpost with, I've checked, scalable communication, ticketing, and knowledge management capabilities. I hope I got that right. What has changed most significantly in your day-to-day, actually, operations through this technology?
Well, Zendesk has been an absolute game changer for the Signpost-Projekt and a huge force for support for the International Rescue Committee in general. The Signpost-Projekt is the kind of flagship partner of Zendesk. And at the time that we met them, we were operating on a fragmented technology stack that was very difficult to scale, expensive to maintain, and not especially effective. When we connected with Zendesk, it was 2020, just before the pandemic hit, just before the lockdown started. And in the aid sector, this is a bit of a parenthesis, the aid sector is not especially tech savvy or tech friendly. When the pandemic hit in 2020, all of a sudden the face-to-face work that was the default mode of the aid sector became difficult to do, impossible to do in some places. And that opened people's minds to casting a digital net a lot more broadly and really leveraging digital technology. So we met Zendesk in 2020. We had a fragmented, unscalable tech stack. We started using their tools. Their teams not only enabled us with access and licenses to their products, but they also really engaged with us. And we worked together to build a scalable blueprint based on Zendesk support to manage content, multi-channel communication. And we trialed it in one country, and very quickly that became 2, became 3, eventually 6, eventually 10 to 20 to 30. So it was this really critical moment where the work that we did needed to scale. There was a market opportunity. It was very obvious that we needed to get out and do the things that we were doing. And they were the tech partner that really enabled that. So it was this deep collaboration that we had with them that kind of ignited the project and really catalyzed growth from a promising proof of concept into a real global program.
And now today at Relay 2026, we mentioned it before. Now we talk about the AI part. we hear a lot about AI powered services. Where do you see for you the biggest value in AI for Signpost?
Well, maybe I'll answer the biggest value for AI for the IRC first, and Signpost is a subset of that.
Yeah.
So the IRC has been working with different approaches towards, helping more people by leveraging technology. AI is the most promising technology that we've seen perhaps in our lifetime. And we have been focusing on predictive analytics to better guide and understand our action. We've been focusing on workflow efficiency improvement.
Okay.
And within that, there is kind of a subset of sort of capturing insights from the data that we already do have that previously were difficult to analyze, but really making our operations and our programs more efficient so we can reach more people, help more people. And then we've been running another side of our service that has been focused on creating agents to either help frontline responder teams or to directly help empower communities themselves. And we have been looking at this both as sort of an enterprise rollout of different AI technologies that can kind of permeate horizontally across all of our different business systems, but also these bespoke projects that leverage particular types of AI in pursuit of different programming goals. I'll give you a few examples.
Yes, please.
We have a team at IRC that is running an anticipatory climate disaster response. They're leveraging technology that is doing, things like flood and drought prediction, and overlaying that with other data sets that are related to vulnerability of population. That when in the right moment, we understand exactly who the most vulnerable people are, and where they are, and how we can try to help them before a disaster displaces them from their home, which, as it turns out, the evidence proves is much more cost effective on one level, and on another level, way better outcomes for the communities that we work with. That's one example. Other examples are helping teacher training to work with children who have been impacted by armed conflict, and we have a really promising pilot that's rolling out there. Other examples are work like what we're doing at Signpost, which is trying to, I had mentioned earlier that we do this kind of websites that are self-help centers, and then we do these one-to-one consultations with people. Well, it turns out the number of one-to-one consultations that we do are limited by the number of staff that we have. When leveraging AI, we've found that we can amplify the number of people that our responders can serve. And what we've also found is that AI can actually help people solve some of these problems. Not all of them. Some require humanity of experts who are trained as frontline responders, who are really central to that response. But other parts of the consultations we can do through AI tools only if they are safe and extensively tested and extremely reliable. And so we've been tooling up essentially like an AI system where we can build agents and make sure that they're absolutely safe by pressure testing them along 5 different ways and having safety guardrails and all of the things that you would need to run such a program when operating with highly vulnerable people. So it's a real multifaceted approach, but I think it resembles a lot of what I see in the private sector through engagements with different companies and conferences where you have a data transformation project ongoing with an enterprise AI rollout for knowledge management and really leveraging the data that you have. And on top of that, you have an architecture within which you can build agents that will serve various project outcomes. It resembles a lot what we're doing internally to what's happening in the private sector right now.
So coming back to that AI trust question now, because as you mentioned, yes, it's probably like in humanitarian context, an incorrect or like incomplete answer can have a big impact. So how do you, for you internally, build that AI trust? We heard many things now here at Relay already about trust, and you said testing, but what does that literally at the end of the day mean for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I guess it means different things in different use cases. For us, in terms of creating agents that would be directly serving communities, it involves extensive testing and refinement, both through rigorous simulation testing, as well as being tested by pools of subject matter experts. And then constantly refined and refined and refined through this really deep consultation that we've been doing. And I'll give you some examples of what I mean there. If you're building an agent that will be helping a community member who is in one of the most difficult moments in their lives, we need to make sure that legal experts are 100% confident that there are reliable answers coming from the bot, that are not overstepping, and that are playing the role of sharing legal information, but not, front-loading legal advice, which AI wants to do unless you make sure that it can do that. Then having child protection experts and women's empowerment experts and, a range of different social work experts that are really helping guide to refine a system. And then seeing it operate within the very narrow margin of error that we have for an extensive period of time before you know that this tool is safe to release. And then there also has to be oversight over the top of that as it goes live. That's in the context of Signpost. Now, there's other programs like our disaster response programs, for example. Those are ones where, we need to make sure that we're using our resources well. And so you would only really apply tools like that once they have proven to be reliable. The flood forecasting technology has to be a bedrock that you can rely on and count on, as well as many of the data streams that you would capture from local communities. And it's really only if your data is like totally airtight that you can, confidently deploy this kind of program in advance. And then for the internal tools that we have, it's, we're in a big rollout right now. We're being very cautious about what we ask people to do with AI support. We're really not trying to replace humans. We're trying to help them kind of clear the backlog of annoying work that everybody has in their everyday life with AI, but really putting in structured processes. We have a prompt library that even, that people will refer to when they're doing AI supported workflows. But really trying to work in such a way that we get the best out of our humans, and that we make sure that we're not just kind of putting on the blinders and letting AI do whatever it would to the best of its instructions, but rather creating workflows that are sustainable, that save a lot of time and energy, and that decrease the cognitive burden on so many of our personnel who are working around the clock right now.
You just mentioned as well how critical the data is, and we heard it at Relay as well. Knowledge is kind of the base for everything. How do you make sure and ensure that the information remains, on one hand, locally relevant, as you mentioned, like in the disaster program, but as well kind of up to date and it's understood? Do you have always a human in the loop to oversee it, or how can I understand it?
No, that's a great question. Really, with respect to doing information work and data gathering, you need people. You need people involved on one level or another. There are some services that we'll work with, like APIs to Earth observation data or something like that, that are just going to be happening that we can receive. But things related to the communities on the ground, it's still people that need to relay that information back and that need to interpret that data to set up these AI supported workflows. And so ultimately, at the end of the day, people really create a lot of the data, or they play a critical role in making that data usable. It's we have different approaches to accessing dynamic information sources, like we'll say like government websites or things like that. It's hard to get only the information that is most current, up to date, the stuff that you really need, versus the ensemble of everything that's on there. So we're still defining stronger systems and strategies to do that. We started in working with AI using RAG as the kind of knowledge base that we can draw from, but we're finding now that there's a lot of better strategies of how to have the right data and how to get it quickly and how to have it not be interpreted, but rather have it emerge in its kind of native, most accurate form that it was essentially there in. But the quality of a system will only ever be as good as the quality of the data that you're using.
Yeah. We're now looking ahead. How do you see the future of humanitarian work and like with it, technology and AI evolving? Where do you see the next steps going, and what are you hoping for or looking forward to?
The aid sector is often a sort of reflection of politics from
Yeah.
many of the
Yeah.
countries that support it, largely Europe and the United States, more and more also Middle Eastern donors and East Asia. But its future will be linked to politics that touch both on the world and how it's changing and evolving. And currently, we're experiencing a real withdrawal from humanitarian support, not just in the United States, but also in Europe, as countries kind of reorient aid budgets towards defense spending.
Yeah.
That means that there's a lot less to support the sector and the communities that it needs. But also with evolving technology, there is a real push right now that's very exciting to see AI used for good in the world. And I hope that we are able to really leverage that to its maximum as humanitarian responders. I hope that the rollout with AI will also include local communities, that will include voices from those who are kind of off the map of what a sales environment would look like, a business environment in the Western world. So we really have to fight to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
But I believe that even despite what trends we're seeing right now, that we really can make a bigger difference, that this technology may really enable local responders, who are the most important part of the humanitarian sector, to really enable them to kind of leapfrog the messy last 20 years of technology that we've had, and really get the most out of the people that work for them to have the biggest impact possible for communities. Like technology never saved a life alone. People save lives. Technology amplifies human intention. And this new era of AI is perhaps the biggest amplifier that we've seen. We just have to make sure that it's amplifying the right people's intentions, and that is our local community responders. And if there's one thing that I would hope to see emerge in this coming period of time, it would be a real empowerment and enablement of the diverse communities around the world who work tirelessly to face the many challenges that are ahead of them, whether it's armed conflict or climate disaster. Let's make sure that we put AI to work for them.
Yeah. And one last question is actually more personal question. If you're now looking back at your road and the way that you kind of used AI or technology so far, what is for you maybe most touching or amazing or exciting moment where you said, that's where I saw and realized for yourself personally that you can make a difference with it?
I would say the biggest moments, there's two moments that stand out for me. One was moving from the fragmented, bespoke tech stack that was clunky and silly to an enterprise cloud-based platform that was, just infinitely scalable and easy to work with, easy to use. That made a huge difference. That unlocked scalability. That was a major transformation. With AI, it was more like a wave that was building in the ocean that you could see on the horizon. That it wasn't when it first, when GPT dropped quite publicly in late 2022, it wasn't ready to be used in any serious application yet, but you could tell that it was about to be. And I still remember really vividly listening to a story on a radio program about students using it to cheat on their exams or something like that. And it was this funny story, but it kind of struck me that, oh, wow, like this thing is real, and we better figure out how to put this to work for good. And before, all the promise of it and the hype and the business model, of all these things come along and crush our applications of it. So I would say that was probably the biggest moment in recent years. And what's interesting is that we were in this phase of pilots for for like years. Like, well, we're going to pilot it like this, and we're going to pilot it like that. Here we found 30% efficiency gains. There we got 70. But I feel like now something changed in late 2025 towards today in the current moment, where it's really more about scale now.
Yeah.
It's about rollouts at scale and demonstrable bulletproof impact.
Yeah.
We're in a new phase now. So our pilots were great. We did a lot of good things. We need to drill down on the models that work the best for implementing those. But at the same time, it's also like horizontal scaling.
Yes.
And really making that organizational or sector-wide impact that you can do through that. So that's what 2026 and 2027 are going to be about.
Thank you very much for your time and sharing your story, your insights with you and your experience. Thank you so much, André.
Thank you.